that's bright, come take a seat on the beam. We gather where laughter meets. Every Tuesday's a trip, come share your flair. In this warm embrace, there's love everywhere. Talk it out, all vibes alright. Nobody's wrong in our light tonight. So join us in this cozy space. We're talking it out, with love we embrace. No topics too bold, no dreams out of reach. Together we rise, that's the joy that we teach. From stories of pride to journeys of heart, we celebrate life, each unique part. A safe haven here, where spirits soar free. Together we rise, that's the joy that we teach. Let the colors shine bright in the warmth of the night. So join us in this cozy space. We're talking it out, with love we embrace. No topics too bold, no dreams out of reach. Together we rise, that's the joy that we teach. Let the colors shine bright in the warmth of the night. So join us in this cozy space. We're talking it out, with love we embrace. No topics too bold, no dreams out of reach. Together we rise, that's the joy that we teach. With each word we share, we bring the light. Join the talk show, let your heart take flight.
Hey guys, it's SayCo Alford from the SayCo Show. I hope you're doing great tonight. Can you believe we are already in June? I can't believe it, guys. Happy Pride. Can you believe that we are already at Pride again? You know, I want to take a moment before we get into the title of the topic of the show. And I hope you guys can hear me okay. I'm speaking into my vintage Electro Voice 630 microphone. I want to tell everyone out there that's struggling about pride. Let me just tell you something. It's not that we want a month to ourselves. It's that we want our lives to be inclusive. We want our lives to be respected. We want, like any other human, basic human rights. You know, I've seen a bunch of pride stuff pop up on social media. And there are a lot of people that say, well, that's great. Maybe we should have a month that celebrates Jesus. Even at my job, someone said, well, if they get to wear rainbows on the union pin, why can't I put Jesus on the union pin? This is not about religion. This is not about honoring one group. What it's discussing this month, what we're trying to get across globally, is that we take pride in who we are, and we deserve rights like anyone else. A lot of negativity right now in Tennessee. It's tough being a brown queer guy in Tennessee right now, let me tell you. And our governor decided to say June is no longer Pride Month in Tennessee. It's now the Nuclear Family Month of Tennessee, which is not a law. He's just saying it. You know, all of them are going to run with it. But there's an article that one of our local news channels sat down with Tennessee Equality Project, and they said, what is your opinion on all this? How do you feel that your governor, whether we voted for him or not, he's the governor of Tennessee right now. What do you think this means? And how does that make you feel when he says June is for the nuclear family? Well, you know what? I could have any type of family that I want. That's the great thing about what our country used to stand for. Freedom. So that means I can have whatever kind of family I want. And they really hate that. They hate that I have an option. They hate that I have an opinion. You know, back in the day, they used to say that we were mentally ill, that we were struggling and handicapped with our thoughts. Guys, there's nothing wrong with me, and there's nothing wrong with you. And we appreciate our allies. I am a believer in Jesus Christ. I know some of my listeners are not. But this is how I have to wrap my sanity around my life. And whoever you pray to, or whoever you get quiet with, whoever you meditate with, if no one at all, I respect that. I usually say, I respect your God that is inside of you. That's how usually I answer things when people go, well, what's your religion? Or do you want to talk about politics and religion? I usually say, no, thank you, I'll pass. But I respect and honor the God that you carry within you. And that's what we should be doing as human beings. You may not pray to my God, but I want to let you know that I pray. And that's been one of the big things of this show. A lot of emails, a lot of comments. Wait. You're saying you're gay? Oh yeah, I am. I am very gay. And you're saying you're a Christian? Yep. I sure am. That's my right. That's my freedom. As being sent here from my God, I take being gay as a gift from my God. Now, I'm not talking about your God. I'm talking about my God. My God sent me here, chose me uniquely, specifically to come to this earth as a queer person. And I respect that. Just like he gave me jet black hair, just like he made me 5'7". I take these gifts with me. They are not a heavy sack of burden that I'm pulling behind me. No. I'm wearing it as a beautiful flower badge on my shirt. My God sent me here as gay, and I love this gift. And for those that push back for June Pride Month, how would you like it? Let's turn the table a little bit, guys. How would you like it if I said, you two there? No. You guys are opposite of each other. I don't want any breeding. I don't want any children. No. That's disgusting. Don't you be doing what you're naturally drawn to. Why are you constantly breeding? No, I don't. I go, wonderful. What a blessing. What a blessing that you brought life into this world along with God. That's great. And I respect that. But you're going to have to respect my family definition. And that's it. That's it. It's really, really easy, to tell you the truth. It's do good, be good. It's respecting all. You know, a lot of these people around here are very religious. We're considered, in the Bible Belt down here in the Red South. And a lot of people use their Bible against me. But I've done my research, and I know the true translations. Have you done research? Do you really know the original scrolls, meaning, text, definitions? I implore you to not just take what's in your Bible, print it out. I implore you to go and do some research with the original text before it was translated into different languages. And you'll see what I'm talking about. And that's why I live so freely now today. That's why I'm so proud of my God and my gayness, because I know my God sent me here just this way. And I am extremely prideful about it. I'm extremely excited about it. This honor that my God has given me, oh, I'm going to do the best that I can with it. And I feel like I have, guys. I feel like I've done pretty darn good. I've got some money in the bank already for retirement. I'm way over my projected totals. I've been at the same job for 28 and a half years. Same job, highest topped out pay for my career, traveling all over the world. having personal chefs at resorts wake up at 2 in the morning to cook for us, I think I've done pretty good. Now, I'm not showing off. I'm just saying I worked hard from the mountains of where I came from. I worked hard to see the world. I worked hard for my career. My spouse and I have been running his ministry for 17 years. Same church, same ministry, reaching out to the community. I've been married for 23 years to the same person, one marriage, under my God, no divorces. So I think I've been doing pretty good. You know, once one of my relatives said, wow, those numbers stand and speak for themselves. Yeah, one marriage, same person, same church, same job and career. I'm very proud of myself. And I wonder if others that are so against me would respect and honor my goals, my accomplishments, what I've done with my life. I came from nothing, y'all. I absolutely came from nothing. But what I knew is that I was worthy of something better. And it's all about choices. You youngins that are listening right now, it's all about choices. I decided that I wasn't going to flip burgers, even though I dropped out of college. I decided I wasn't going to turn to drugs or alcohol. I decided that I wasn't going to do what stereotypical things that are put on my community. Decided not to do any of that. I decided to honor myself with a honest life. And yeah, like my relative said, those numbers really do stand up. Now, I'm not being boastful. I'm not being, a show off here, guys. I'm just strictly talking to maybe the people that are against my life. I've had some of the meanest people come against me, threatening my life and my church, etc. And they're the ones that hold the Bible every single day. They're the ones that are in church, in their church, every Sunday. They're the ones that are on their 4th marriage and 9 stepkids. I don't judge this because you know what my God says? Love is love. Love all, love your neighbor, respect everyone. That's why I'm always telling y'all, do good, be good. That's what you got to do. You got to do the best thing that you can. This is just one chapter, guys. Our lives are just one chapter. I'm so excited for part 2. Aren't y'all? You know, Betty White used to talk to her mother about death and crossing over the other side. And her mother said, all the people that have passed ahead of us, well, they know the secret. They know. They know now that they've passed. They know. I'm looking forward to the next part where maybe we can treat everyone, whether it's in body or spirit, with respect. That's my dream. That's my goal. I try to treat everyone the same as they treat me. I try to just do my best, guys. You know, one of our greatest listeners, one of my biggest fans and supporters, is up in Canada. My brother Todd up there. And he has been such a light as a listener to this show. And when another big fan of mine, my best friend Derek up in Ohio, said, I have an idea for a show. Why not ask the question, what would you tell your younger self? What would you say? What would you ask? How would you share knowledge to your younger self to maybe make the road, the journey, a little less stressful? And, so many of you said, what a great topic, but I don't want to discuss it publicly. And I respect that. I had a lot of texts that said I'm not ready to discuss what I would say to my younger self. That's okay. There was another gentleman that said, I wouldn't even know where to begin. Another lady texted in and said, I don't want to say anything on the show, but right now I'm in such hurt and turmoil and despair that I don't even have time for myself today, much less to tell my younger self. And I get that. I respect wherever you are on your journey. Here at the SayCo Show, we've always said that we're going to be as real as we can, and that we're going to discuss all things queer and my life. And when Derek said, let's talk about your life, let's talk about your younger self, let's dive into some of these harder topics, maybe a little heavier. So tonight, I want you to know, number one, this is being recorded live and unedited. Number two, I'm grateful for y'all. But I would not be here if I didn't have some sort of gumption and courage at 4 years old. And that's really where my story begins. If you go back, I think we're on, my goodness, 100 episodes on the longer shows on Podbean. 100 episodes of me discussing my life and my journey. And you can go back and listen to what I've discussed about my upbringing and my dreams and how hard it was as a child. But for those of you that haven't, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a storybook here on the SayCo Show. I grew up with extreme mental cruelty. And even though I was told we were Christians and we were loving people, it just didn't seem like it. There was not really a lot of physical touch towards me in a loving way. I did get slapped and hit a lot. I was constantly told, go get the belt. I loved when I heard go get the belt out of the broom closet. It was an old leather belt that the buckle had fallen off of. And that bought me time. I could prepare myself for getting the belt, the strap. But when I didn't get the notice that my mother's hand was coming full force towards me, the biggest slap in the face, mostly on the side, it would land usually on the side of my head. And it would knock me to my knees. I would see stars. I'd lose my vision. Sometimes I lost my hearing. And it was blunt force slaps, open-handed, punches is what it felt like. But guys, I'm telling you, there was something in me, young. And many of you will understand what I'm talking about. When you feel different, you kind of feel like you have a secret power. And I knew I was different at 4 years old. And I didn't think it was a negative. I just knew I was different. But I also knew at 4 years old not to act naturally. I started acting for my family and the public at 4 years old. Now, don't ask me how I knew this. I guess, kids are a sponge. And I knew that manly men, Greek, Spanish, Italian men were all around me. And very, very strong women, religious people. And I knew I had to start acting at 4 years old. I often tell the story, there was a little girl that lived on one side of my grandmother's house and a little boy on the other. I wanted to play with her. We always played house together. But on the other side of the house, his name was Benji. I wanted to hold Benji's hand. And I couldn't understand it. There were other times when my stepfather, his brother would come over and we would go swimming and whatnot. And I remember my step-uncle picking me up with no shirt on. He had lots of red hair, red beard, hairy chest. And I knew I wanted to touch it and that I liked it. At 4 years old, guys, he would pick me up in one hand. He had the biggest hands I've ever seen. And he would catapult me into the swimming pool. And I knew at 4 years old not to reach out and touch his beard or his chest. I knew at 4 years old that I was already being programmed to act and be a certain way. And that was not naturally how I felt. But I went along with it. I was having sex at a very, very early age. And I thought, well, if I have enough sex with enough girls, it'll go away. And guys, it never did. It never did. I was extremely depressed and suicidal for a lot of my years, especially the teenage years. There were many times that I was holding a switchblade and I wanted to cut my wrists. And I would think about other things. I would think, well, if I could take all these pills and get to the liquor, I could do it that way, or should I jump off the roof, or should I climb up a mountain and throw myself off a cliff? Should I steal the car and try to floor the gas and flip the car? I had all these suicidal options planned out in my head from a very young age. But I knew that I was acting the part early on. I knew to correct how I was standing. I knew how to try not to talk with my hands. You know, Spanish and Italian people, we speak with our hands and fingers a lot. And mine were more feminine. My actions and the way I would tilt my hand or throw my hands and fingers out discussing things. So I learned early on to put my hands in my pocket or to hold my hands behind my back. So a lot of the time, if I was standing in a crowd or at a picnic or something, most of the time you'll see pictures of me as a child and my hands were either in my pocket or I was holding something very purposely, or my hands were behind my back because I didn't want to show how feminine I was. I was very embarrassed about it. My voice, as you can tell, very high voice all the time, my whole life. So I knew how to convince myself to do different tones and to whisper. If I got quieter, my voice didn't sound as high pitch. So I learned all these things. I learned how to hold my head and not to blink my eyes. I would tell myself not to constantly smile because I was just such a joyous, giggly type of kid. And I tried my best not to smile because girls smiled more than boys. So I knew at a young age to start acting as the SayCo that they wanted. And I made them very happy and proud to act that way. And I thought, well, if they love me like this, they ain't going to love me as the true me. So, you know, a lot of therapy, a lot of self-help, a lot of books, a lot of journals. And I came to the conclusion that I think I'll probably be an actor of some sort the rest of my life because it's a part of me. I even had, someone say, well, you're living a double life. I live a double life at times, even to this day, because of safety. It's security and it's safety. And I'm very, very aware of it. Everyone around me is aware of it. They know if I get quiet and whisper and get smaller, that I don't feel comfortable. And that's been my whole journey. Acting, not being authentic, really choosing, purposely choosing how to stand, how to walk, how to smile, how to blink, how to breathe. And this has been the most pitiful part of me my whole life. And I realize that it's just absolutely terrible. And I can't believe that all of the world, most of the world, that are straight and comfortable with themselves don't have this agony, this journey of double personality, double life, whatever you want to call it. There's a public persona. You know, if you watch a lot of these actors and a lot of the performers, they say the true me is at home. And there's an outer me that is for the public. And that's been the story of my life, this fucked life at times, for a long time. And I realize it. I've discussed it with people. I've discussed it with my spouse. I've discussed it with therapists. I have always been this way because of my journey. I was constantly corrected. Don't act like that. Only girls do that. You don't want that toy. Stop playing with her doll. Boys like blue and green. Boys like black and gray. Boys don't hold things that are pink. Boys shouldn't have posters on the wall that are purple. Boys don't do that. Don't stand that way. Don't talk that way. Don't do that with your hair. You know, a lot of times my grandfather would say, his hair is way too long. Are you going to let him become a full-blown girl? So I would go and get my hair buzz cut. My mother would shave it all off. There are so many things that are too hard to discuss on this show. That played with my mind. It really played with me mentally. And what they were doing is they were programming me to change the course of my life. And that might have come from love from them. They might have said, oh, no, you got to get married. I want grandbabies. You're going to do what the norm calls for. I was always told, that's not normal. Don't do that. And I would say, don't do what? And they would say, don't stand that way. Don't walk that way. Don't talk that way. Don't use those words. Those words are for girls. You be a nice young man. I was told gentlemen always have a watch because women are going to ask the time. Gentlemen have matches. You light a lady's cigarette. Now I'm dating myself a little bit. You guys are going to know how old I am. I always had a handkerchief in my pocket because gentlemen have a handkerchief for all ladies because ladies weep. So I was constantly being programmed. The whole religious thing came into being once I was suicidal and 12, 13. I started sleepwalking, and it was a good year and a half of that. And they thought I was demonized. I had the local preachers come to the house, and they would pray over me and anoint me with oil and say that they were going to pray away these feelings. They were going to pray away the weirdness. They wouldn't say really gay, but they would say the weirdness, the strangeness, the non-normative personality. We are going to get that out of him. He's obviously possessed by a devil. So when you hear things like this, not just once, but constantly in your upbringing, it changes and alters your persona. And it chemically changes you, I believe. In my opinion, it chemically changes you in your brain. And so you believe they're either going to kill me, change me somehow, some way, or they're going to love the way I will act for them. And I wanted food in my tummy. I wanted clothes on my back, and I wanted a roof over my head. Under 18, who doesn't? So I began to start acting early on for their love and acceptance. And how I wish I would have stood my ground and become who I was naturally supposed to be from an early age. Now, at 51, I'm just trying to figure it all out. I'm just now getting some answers clicking in my head of who I am and what I stand for. And I've really had to take a deep step away from everyone. Friendships, family, relatives, loved ones, people that have been in my life from a very young age. I had to step away from all of it because it was either going to kill me or it was going to mentally crash me. And I had to make a decision for my real self. So when the question came from one of our listeners, what would you tell your younger self? Oh my goodness, I don't think we have enough hours. Y'all know I can talk about anything for 3 hours flat if I have to. That started way over on the radio station. But I've always been talkative in my adult life. But if I could sit down little mini SayCo and say, hey kid, sit down, let's talk. It's going to get better, I promise. You're going to get married. You're going to have a good career. You're going to see the world. You're going to have some money in your pocket. You're going to have a pretty little cottage down the street from Patsy Cline's house. I would go, really? Really? Are you sure you got the right file? Those things, even saying that out loud, makes me a little emotional because I didn't think I would see the age of 30, much less a lot of my dreams to come true. And those of you that are listening, I do this show for the younger queers. I want you to know that you are valid and you are wonderful just the way you were sent here. So I challenge you when you're writing in your journal tonight. I challenge you to write down what would you ask or say or tell to your younger self. And this is just some of what I would say. This is very summarized, but this is some of the things that I would say to myself. If I could sit down right now with my younger self, I would not begin with criticism or regret. I would begin with compassion. I would tell little SayCo to love himself more deeply and more honestly than the world may sometimes allow him to. And I would tell him that he was never a mistake, never broken, and never something that needed to be fixed. You know, a lot of us are told, don't you worry. This pastor knows a good place you can go to. It's a fun summer camp. And you're going to go and figure out how much Jesus loves you at this camp. And then we're going to tell you how you should be for the rest of your life. There was a lot of times that I was challenged with that I was going to be sent away to a religious camp where they were going to show me how to be a young man. I would tell myself that being gay, queer, different is not a punishment or a flaw, but part of the beautiful and complicated gift given to me by my Creator, not your Creator, not your God. I'm not talking about your personal walk in this life, guys. I'm telling little SayCo what I would say from our Creator, my God, our God. And I would tell him to stop apologizing for his existence. I tell my younger self not to be suicidal when life becomes heavy and cruel. You know, at 9 years old, guys, I was thinking about jumping off the roof, and I thought I might get lucky and snap my neck. And that was at 9 years old. 9 years old. That's not right at 9 years old. That tells you that I was in a very disruptive, cruel, mentally challenging household. Because at 9 years old, I should have been told, you are worthy and you are loved just the way you are. So I would tell my 9-year-old SayCo, you are worthy. There will be moments when rejection and shame, and the loneliness, fear, it all seems unbearable. There were so many times, guys, that I was so lonely, and I would cry into my pillow and I would pray to my God and say, please change me. Take away these thoughts that come so naturally to me, just like eating and breathing. Change me. I promise I'll be a good boy. Take it away. And I'll do everything to honor you. Just please take it away. I think you made a mistake. It's a flaw. But if you take it away by morning, I promise I'll be the best good boy ever. I promise. I won't be bad. I would tell him all those unbearable crying nights, that those moments will pass. I would tell him to brush the dirt off of his knees. I would tell him to stand up and take charge of his life with confidence and pride. I would remind him that survival itself becomes a victory when the world expects you to disappear. And there were times that I felt my family wanted me to disappear. And that is not okay. But I had this thing in me, guys. This beautiful ball of powerful pride that was deep inside of me. And I can prove it. I have yearbooks. And where I grew up, you got a yearbook in 5th grade and it went all the way to 12th grade. In my 5th grade yearbooks, I have people that signed it that said, good luck on the airplane. Good luck in California. Good luck in New York. Good luck traveling. So I believe at 9 years old, I was already telling people that I was going to leave and escape this town. And I have proof of it because those signatures and writings in my 5th grade yearbook prove it. So I'm proud of little SayCo that was saying, guys, I'm not going to grow up and live here. I'm going to move away. In my heart and mind, I was telling myself, I'm going to go and find people that are like me. I'm going to search until I find that someone else is like me. And I'm going to find happiness and contentment. And I'm going to have a beautiful, wonderful life. And I was telling myself that every single day of my life. I've told the story on other podcasts. I would lay on top of the roof of my grandmother's house and I'd watch every airplane take off. They would fly right over our roof. And I would say, God, please, please, Jesus, put me on that plane. Get me far, far away from here. Take me away. And the plane would pass. And I would say, okay, the next plane. So 5 minutes later, another plane would be taken off, and I would say, this is the one. God's going to beam me onto this plane, and I'm going to go find people that are like me, and I'm going to find my happiness. I would tell my younger self not to cry so much over the opinions of people who never really truly understood me. There's still people, they didn't understand me as a child. They still don't understand me as an adult. And not every harsh word deserves a permanent wound. Not every judgment deserves power. I spent far too many years taking things literally and carrying every insult like it was carved into me like a stone tattoo. I would tell little SayCo to let some things roll off of his shoulders and stop giving strangers the authority to define his worth. But in some weird way, guys, somehow, some way, I knew I was worthy. Maybe not in my town with my family, but I knew I would find my worth somewhere, somehow. I would tell him not to place people he admires on pedestals. As a child and a teenager, I often believed certain people were somehow greater than me, or holier, smarter, and more deserving than I was. But the truth is that we all come from the same dirt, and we all are human beings trying to survive the best way that we know how. No one is above anyone else, and every person deserves equal dignity, equal rights, and the dream of equal humanity. Most importantly, I would tell my younger self to stop acting. I was told for a long time to stop acting, by myself or by others. And I learned very young how to perform for the comfort of those around me. Many queers become actors long before they ever step onto the stage. We study voices and gestures, expressions and behavior so that we can appear acceptable to public, to family, to loved ones. And we learn to hide ourselves in order to feel safe. And I became very good at pretending to be the version of myself that other people wanted to see. And I didn't feel like my true authentic self was worthy to be in public. The tragedy is that I took so much time, guys. We're talking decades to discover who I really was underneath all of the performance. I would even speak gently to my 4-year-old self. I would even tell him not to feel embarrassed or about the feelings that would rise inside of him when he sees someone that's handsome. And I would tell him those feelings are innocent and natural, and there's no shame in the heart for recognizing beauty. At 4 years old, I wanted to put my hand through my step-uncle's chest hair. And if I would have been standing next to him, I would have said, yeah, you do it. Go ahead, rub your hand through his hair. Isn't that cool that he has all that thick red chest hair? There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing sexual or lustful about that at all. That was just an innocent 4-year-old boy that liked the feeling of that man's chest hair. Above all else, I would tell my younger self to dream big, and to live authentically and to walk proudly through life without an apology. The world may try to convince him somehow to shrink, but his greatest happiness will come from finally becoming exactly who he always was meant to be. True, authentic little boy SayCo. And that's my wish for all children. No slapping, no hitting, no mental cruelty, no normative views passed down as a necessity, but just an embrace of love and acceptance. That would be the perfect recipe. That's how I want all children to be raised, with love and the authority of their own personality. Trust me, years of therapy, guys. I had to take off each part of the performance. I had to take things off of me like props, like clothing, like pieces of a fake life, just to get to where I am right now, talking into this vintage microphone here in my podcast studio, where we discuss my life and all things queer. Somehow, some way, our journeys intertwined here on the podcast. And what I've said from the beginning is this is not for me. Sometimes it teaches me a lot and it lets me vent. But this show is for you. You guys are the listeners. This is your show. I share such personal, hard, difficult things because I want the youngins to know that it does get better. Now, to this day, I've been spit at. I've been called a faggot. I've been called mentally ill. To this day. You know, let me give you an example of where I live. The other night, I was on the plane and we had a moment and I was scrolling through some things. And there was a news article that said, ICE detained a Missouri man who died in custody. And it was a local write-up that was shared here with our local news. And I went to the comments to say, may he rest in peace. I'm sure he was really scared being detained away from his loved ones. And then I started reading some of the comments. And these are the people that I live around in my community. They said, good, let's get rid of the herd. Good, glad he's dead. And these are people with their real names in front of their family, in front of their job, in front of their preacher, writing comments like this. This is where I live. Is it a Missouri man or is it a Guatemalan man? Oh, it was an American man or was it a gangbang druggie? So immediately, because of his skin color, they put a picture of him detained in a jail cell. They judged that man. They judged that man. And they were saying the most hateful, mean things. None of us knew that man personally. I'm sure if we tracked down his friends, employers, and family, they would say what a wonderful person he was. And now they're grieving him and burying him. But I went through 326 comments from local Tennesseans that said they were so glad that this non-American drug dealer rapist was dead. These are who I live amongst. These are the people that send bomb threats to my church. These are the people that wish that I was dead. These are the people that constantly challenge us, either at a restaurant or a festival. Just last night, we went for ice cream, and we were sitting in the car, and we saw a couple walk by, and they were a straight couple, and they were holding hands. The husband was black, and the woman was white, and I thought, how beautiful that they feel safe enough in 2026 to go in and get ice cream and walk down the city square holding hands. Because I'm telling you, back in the day, they would have killed both of them, or they would have ruined their lives for being in an interracial marriage. It's still hard in 2026 for my husband and I. There's a lot of the time that I'm worried that ICE is going to be around. And my people have been in this country for 10,000 years. My DNA matches the skull that they found in the river in Kennewick, Washington. They call him the Kennewick Man. And when they scraped those bones, my DNA matches his DNA. So that means this is my country. You know, most people naturally assume that I'm Mexican because I'm here in America, in the United States of America, I should say. And I want to remind everyone that the Americas, that's all of Canada, that's all of the United States, that's all of Central America and South America. So when you say here in America, you should really be saying where you live. Maybe you should do some educational slides. We live in the United States of America. So when you say, get out of my America, you should really be saying the United States, because there are many people that live in America, whether it's Central America, North America, or South America. I can't tell you how many times I've been asked if I receive shots to live here because I grew up in Albuquerque. And I would say, wait, stop and listen to what you're asking me. Well, didn't you say you were from Albuquerque? I said, yeah, I lived there for many years. Did you have to get shots and a visa to come here? So, you know, the people that are judging me, I don't think they got a really good education, do you? No, I don't need shots or a visa or a passport to come from Albuquerque, New Mexico, a state of the United States. And my DNA matches the skull that they say is 6,000 to 10,000 years old. That means that my lineage, some of it, not only came from Europe, Spain, Italy, Greece, but that I am in my country. Many times in my life I've been told, go back to where you came from. And I say, oh, I don't want to live in Washington State right now, but it is a pretty place. I love it there on my layovers. But no, I don't want to go to Washington State this time. I want people to know that I don't have to leave. And if I was really going to obey their wishes of going back to where I came from, I am home. Where are you from? And I ask these questions because I challenge why we were immediately describing what we thought in that picture of the man in Missouri in the ICE jail detention, because he had dark skin and dark hair and was picked up by ICE. That man is from the Americas. That man was here working 3 jobs. And whether he took his life or not, we'll never know the truth. Maybe they killed him. We don't know. But the truth is, that man is now in glory. Whether you wanted him to go to hell or not because you assumed he was a druggie or a rapist, that man is now in heaven. He's in total bliss for the rest of eternity in God's arms, the one that made him and created him. I would tell my younger self not to let people belittle me. That's been my biggest issue for a long time. People would tease me, in middle school and high school, and they would say, is your shirt wet? And I would say, my shirt, my clothing, wet? No, why? Well, didn't you swim here? Didn't you swim up the Rio Grande River from Mexico? You're a wetback, right? And I would say, well, no, just because I'm brown and here in America and born here, just like 10 of my generations, we were all born here. No, I am home. You might naturally assume, because we're here next to Texas and Arizona, that I'm from Mexico. Let me tell you something. If I was from Mexico, I would be so proud of it. Guys, they've got it down there. They are such beautiful people, the most beautiful personalities I've ever met. They all have 3 jobs. They're hard workers, they're providers, And it's beautiful down there. It's not just what you see crossing the border to have a couple beers in a hacienda, okay? There's a lot more to Mexico than Tijuana. Perhaps maybe I would tell these people that are so rude to take a trip down there, leave the resort, and look around how real Mexicans live. It's stunning. Let me tell you something. Some of the most beautiful museums I've ever been to was in Mexico City. Anyway, that's off topic. I would tell little Sean SayCo that it's okay to be brown and to be proud of his heritage. 70% of me, I don't know what it is, the percentage that 23andMe told me, 78% of me is European. Spain, Greece, Italy. I'm also Czechoslovakian, a little Jewish, etc., etc. But the rest of me is a Native American, and I'm very, very proud of that. So I want to tell you youngins that are brown, it's really hard to be brown right now in this country. I would tell you, be very, very proud of how God made you and the coloring he gave you. But also, make sure you spin those questions and say, well, where are you from? Where did your people come from? Do you know the boat? The name of the boat that your people came over on? Mexicans didn't come over from such a far place. Mexicans are from the Americas, guys. Let that sink in. I try not to get political and I try not to get too religious on this show because I know that I have listeners that are non-believers, and I know I have listeners that truly stand behind what this country is going through right now. This show does not. This show does not stand with the current administration. And I hope you are enjoying this show because I read out of my journal, I tell you my life, I share real life experiences to the queer listeners and also the allies. But if you're uncomfortable listening to this show, I want you to find a new favorite podcast because we're going to start talking about real things that are going on in my life, and I'm not going to be sorry for any of it. And that's not a threat or a warning. It's just to remind everyone where I am in life. There's a lot of scary things going on right now, and the journey is tough. What would you tell your younger self or how to prepare for 2026? Maybe should be the next question. We got through so many different ailments and plagues. We got through HIV/AIDS and we got through COVID. Now they're saying more stuff's coming. But we have to remember that this is just a journey. This is just one chapter in the journey of life. We're going to leave these shells, these bodily cocoons, and we're going to move on to the next step, the next chapter, the other side, whatever you want to call it. And over there, we're going to have to acknowledge the choices we made here. Some people call this life a test, that this is a trial, and you're going to have to go face a jury of what you did here. And that's why I try so hard every day to hold my tongue and to breathe. Last night after I saw that straight interracial couple walk by, my husband said, "Oh, look at these two guys. They're walking pretty close. I bet they're a couple. Isn't that cute?" And he said, "What do you think? Do you think they're a couple?" And I looked up and I saw two people that were starting a romance. And I thought it was so beautiful. But I noticed that they weren't touching. They weren't holding hands. Around here you have to be very careful. Now, I've been to places, New York, D.C., San Francisco. I've been to places where you can hold hands and kiss on the street, and it feels so real and freeing. And I wish I could live there 24/7 because that seems like a little bit of heaven on earth. But whoever that couple was, they looked like they were in their early 20s last night. I wish you a successful romance, and to remember to be your authentic selves, and don't hide that you all are on a date. My spouse and I, even now, guys in our 50s, we're still very careful what we do because of where we live. And sometimes it gets really scary. I had some folks that, texted in or wrote in by email on tonight's topic. And most of the folks said that they didn't want it read on the show. For those of you that sent in such beautiful pieces, I read them. They are valid. They are beautiful. I see where you're coming from. And no, that sharing, that writing is just for me. And I appreciate it. Some other of you texted and emailed in and said that they would just tell their younger selves to be more happy or more safe or more careful. And whatever that means or wherever that's coming from, I hear you. I know there's a lot of you at 12 and 13 that say, Mom, Dad, I'm gay. And then you get kicked out. You get sent to a therapist. You get sent to some sort of camp. And I get that. A lot of us went through horrible things because we didn't fit the normative boundaries, the cookie cutter that our parents and family wanted for us. There was another listener that is my number one listener from Canada, Todd. And I'm going to read to you what Brother Todd shared with me because he said it's okay to share. And he said, "Hey, SayCo Show, this is for this week's show. This is what I would tell my younger self. Quote, don't be so hard on yourself. Don't hate yourself all the time. And be wiser with money." And he, end quote. He wanted to thank Derek of Ohio for thinking of the topic. And he wants everyone to know that he loves the show and that he wishes everyone listening a great day. So thank you, Todd from Canada. I so appreciate you. You're my number one listener. I was going through some stats, and I can't believe the people that are listening worldwide. There's a lot of people that say that they can't follow, like, share, etc. because they would get ridiculed for it or etc. And that's okay. That's okay. You listen and download and however you got to do it when you have some privacy and whatnot. But I know who's listening. I know where you live. It tells me Hong Kong is listening, or the UK is listening, or Canada is listening, and I appreciate that. I'm so glad that there are people out there that listen to the show and take account where I'm coming from. And like I've always said, guys, this is number one, this is a queer adult show. Number two, this is your show. And number three, there ain't no lies here. I'm going to tell you guys everything that needs to be said, whether it's embarrassing or hurtful. I'm going to share it because I think when we share, medicine is born. And then with medicine, you can vent and heal. And that's the whole basis of the show. I want you to be the best person that you can be to yourself and the ones that are around you. And I think in time, we're all going to learn to be our true, authentic selves, not just in the cocoon and bubble of our own home, but when we look around outside of our four walls and we share ourselves with our friends and our chosen family. That's when it really counts. Go out, buckle up, be safe. Thanks for everyone that wrote in, whether it was public or not. I just love it. Send me some ideas, guys. Text me. Text the studio, 615-805-4363. And if you want to share any ideas, or if you're going to be in Nashville and you want to be part of the show, whatnot, just let me know. Drop me a line, SayCo Show@writeme.com. I hope you guys are happy, blessed. Promise me you're going to write in your journal tonight. Listen to some music. Music is my medicine. I know for a lot of people it is. Talk and share. whether that's with a counselor, a therapist, your doctor, a teacher, a parent, anyone that will listen. Because when you share, healing comes. Your mind opens up in a different way, and you know your next step, your next breath, and how to move on. Anyone that's suicidal out there, you just Google those local phone numbers. There are people nationwide and in Canada, everywhere that you're listening. I'm sure there's some sort of queer house or therapy house or hotline that you can call and talk to someone. They're waiting for you right now to call if you feel like the next option is unaliving yourself. I don't want that for anyone. You're worthy to be here. You were sent here as a gift to this planet. So please reach out and talk to someone. Go out, buckle up, be safe. Come back and see us again next Tuesday night, live right here exclusively on Podbean. If you need a SayCo fix throughout the week, is how I say it, go look for me on your favorite podcasting platforms. Just Google or do a search, The SayCo Show or at SayCo Show, anything like that. If you want to know more about me and my cancer journey, you can Google The SayCo Show, SayCo, hosted by SayCo Alford, and you're going to find more on me with those journeys.